first up for the wiring was the main relay kit. So I ended up taking out the airbox. I thought I could do it with the airbox in, but there was just not enough room. So take out either your factory airbox or aftermarket one, whichever one you're using. Take that out because you have access to a lot of this room here that's behind the driver's side headlight. So anyways, you can see this fat red wire runs into the bottom of that relay. That's the relay that's supplied with the kit. The kit also comes with a 15 amp fuse, which I've mounted right here. It's easily accessible in case it does blow in the future. I won't have to take out the airbox and go digging for a fuse holder to try to find the fuse. So it's right there. The other ends of that relay kit have running to this post here inside the fuse box, and then to get the ignition signal I'm tapping into the 10 amp fuse right here. I believe it's for the ABS. I don't know. I used my voltmeter and found out this has 0 volts when the key's off. When the ignition's on, this goes to 12 volts. So that'll be the signal for the relay. I had to trim the fuse box a little tiny bit right here to make sure it would shut, because this cable's now on the way. And then over on this side, you can see where that gray cable runs in. I had to trim out just a little tiny bit of the fuse box there too. But all in all, so far is going well. I'm trying to hide the wires as best I can. Next up is this big fat red wire runs from the relay. This has to go through the firewall into the cab, and that hooks into the brain of the system. And then also this spool of wire right here I have running kind of down in the same area, and then that is the main plug-in for the pump. So that wire will be hidden there. So both of these wires, the big red wire and this clump of 3 wires, there's 3 inside of it, both have to be run through the firewall. So next up is drilling the firewall, and let's get to it. Alright, we're back with more wiring. So the next step is going to be to take all the wires that are outside of the cabin, cluster them all together, and then get them inside the cabin so they can all be hooked up. So far there's only 3. I have my big red wire coming from the main relay. I have this black wire which has 3 wires inside of it. That comes from the pump itself. And then this brown wire that you see here runs across there down the passenger side, and that hooks up to the low alcohol sensor on the methanol tank. So what I've done is I've consolidated all 3 wires kind of where they come together right here underneath where the airbox usually is. Threw a zip tie on them to hold them together, and then every like 6 to 8 inches I've just put 2 or 3 wraps of electrical tape. So it's essentially just made one neat long wire for me. So next what I'm going to do is, since this loom is kind of a pain in the butt to put on the wires, I'm going to put it on now when I have this big long snake here. Cover it with the loom, give it a couple wraps of E-tape every 6 to 8 inches again, and then this whole wiring cluster will be ready to push through the hole that I've made in the firewall. So let's get to it. Alright, I got all 3 of the wires all bundled together, taped up, and then put into the black wire loom, which you can see right there. You can see the tan wire coming over from the passenger side, and then the red and black wire all meet right here into the loom, and then they're passing kind of on top of the transmission. I had to jack the car up because I had to get underneath it. And I'll do my best to try to show you where the lines go, but here on the passenger side you can see that black loom going across right there, and then it's probably going to be impossible for me to show you where it goes through the firewall at, but you'll get a better idea on the inside. So I'll take you there on the inside. Okay, so underneath here by the driver's footwell, you'll see that piece of blue plastic. I would venture to say that all Taurus SHOs are going to have that blue piece of plastic there. So if you take a 1/2 inch bit and go just to the left of the bottom of it, and then I had to use a step bit to get even bigger because this black wire loom right here was slightly larger than a 1/2 inch, and I didn't have a bigger bit. So that's what I had to do. Jack the car up, take the bottom plastic panel off, and then route that wire through the hole from the outside. And then, as you can see, I got a whole bunch of extra wire in here. That's all that's left to hook up the kit, so we're going to get into that right now. Alright, back for day 3 of this methanol install. So last night I filled the tank up to about a quarter of the way full and started to prime it with the pump just to make sure that everything was working. And there was no leaks, and I didn't see any leaks, so I left it sitting overnight here in the tank, the methanol, and I wanted to make sure that none was leaking out. I didn't have any leaks around the grommet and everything there, so everything looks good. It didn't leak a single drop, it looks like. So I will go on to the inside of the car here, and this is where I'm at with the wiring. It's not pretty at all, but I wanted to just get everything hooked up just to make sure that everything functioned before I went and hid all the wires. So everything's good, and now I'm just going to get all the wiring hid here behind the glove box. I need to get the 2 lights installed. This is the low alcohol light. It's just a solid red LED, and then you have a second LED which starts off red when the pump is priming and then turns to green when the methanol is actually spraying. So those 2 need to get mounted somewhere where I can see them easily when driving. And then that's going to be it. So let's do this wiring. Alright, we're all done with the wiring now, so I decided to mount the 2 LEDs kind of on the side of the gauge cluster there, kind of on that rounded section. So I wanted them visible clearly when I'm driving, just in case the low methanol light does come on. But that wasn't too bad. Just a couple pieces you got to pop out. You got to pop out this trim piece that has the start button on it. This side piece right there with the little vent thing has to come off. Over here on this side, the gauge brightness display button has to come out. And then you can wiggle out this whole like fake carbon fiber looking piece, and then I was able to get enough room on the right side there to drill 2 holes and work those LEDs into there. So sorry about using the flashlight. It's like 18 degrees outside and I don't feel like opening the garage to get some natural light in here. And then down here we have all the wiring is finished up. I'm going to end up sticking it, you can see I tried sticking it there onto that piece, that's the Velcro, but it sticks out too far and the glove box won't close. So there's a nice area above that, up there, kind of that void, and the control box and all the wiring tucks real nicely up in there, and you'll never see it. The only thing that's going to be visible is that control box right there, the one that sets the gain for the methanol, and that's going to be mounted not just in the side of the glove box. But I don't plan on really ever changing this, but if I ever need to turn the methanol system off, this is how you do it here. You switch this knob to the off position. So real quick, I can go over the wiring. So the ALKY control box comes with a purple and a gray wire coming out of this connector right here. Those 2 are not used in my application. It talks about when you would want to use them in the directions, but I believe for the majority of setups, those 2 are not going to be used. The green wire here, I have tapped into the pin 1 of my 3-bar map sensor on the engine. The red wire coming out of the ALKY control box right there, that one is going to the red wire on the low methanol warning sensor light. The brown wire is going to one of the legs of the LED on the low level methanol light. Same with the orange. So the red, orange, and brown are all going to LED legs. Over here on this plug, you got this twisty black is grounded, which there was a nice ground right up there inside the glove box. You probably can't see it, but there's a good ground up there. And then the red is going to the, where did that come from? Shit, I forgot. Oh, that is coming to the big fat red wire off of the relay, which is mounted under the hood. And then inside of this wire loom, there's another cluster of wires, a red, a black, and a bare wire. So the bare wire gets spliced into a white wire, the red goes to the red coming from the pump, and the black comes from the black coming from the pump. I believe I got that correct, but just reading the directions, it's not too incredibly hard to figure out where all the wires go. So next I'm going to get everything buttoned up and cleaned up, and then we'll be back with a startup and testing to make sure that this thing works good. Alright, so we're back inside and all the wiring has been finished up and hidden. I got everything mounted here in the glove box. So when you open the glove box, you can see here, there's the methanol controller there with the on LED is illuminated because my key is on at the moment. So I'll go ahead and start the car. So the car's not running. See the 2 LEDs there, The top one is the 2-stage LED that goes from red when the pump is priming to green when the methanol is spraying, and then the bottom one is my low level methanol indicator. That one's off at the moment because my methanol tank is full. So what I'll do now is, over here on the control box, it's got a little test push button that you can push that and it'll actually spray the methanol and prime the pump. So I'll go ahead and press it so you guys can see what the LEDs do. You can see it went from red to green, and then the car started to sputter because it didn't know what to do because it was spraying methanol into it. Here we go again. And that's it. So everything is great. I've driven the car about close to 1,000 miles with the methanol so far, mostly highway. I have not gone through a full tank yet. I think I've used probably a little over half a tank, but like I said, that was with highway driving and me getting on it on ramps and passing people and mainly just having fun with it. So I highly suggest the methanol kit. The install wasn't too bad at all. It took me about 3 days, but the weather was extremely cold and snowy outside, and I took my time. Plus I was taking video and probably drinking too much beer. But yeah, all in all, great kit. I'd recommend it to anybody who's on the fence about it. And that's it. We'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.